Hey, Fitzy here, back at it again, another one. Back on the 49 Chev. Just look at this trunk lid. Nice seams on it. Flows right nice to the back. All nice shiny metal. Wasn't this a fun one? I had to replace the entire back end of this and make everything up. It was all reworked before and it rusted out. And I had to cut every bit of it out and start from scratch. But I got through it. They put up a fight and I got it. Stick around. So here we are, back at the 49 Fleetline. In the last video on this Fleetline, I went and turned around and replaced all this up here and got everything welded up, got all that straightened away. So this side here was completely done, full homemade quarter, homemade skirt, all that's been replaced. The entire tail panel has been replaced. I went ahead then, it was the same as the other side. I went ahead and I made the skirt over here. Got that all made. It's the exact same process as that I did in the video for the skirt on the other side. And I turn around up here. This side here was in pretty good shape. And I turned around, just had to weld up a few spots on it. It was solid. I struck it with the grinder. I welded it. I never burned through. It was solid. I had to do some repairs on that. Nothing serious, but that's what I had to get done. So I got the skirt done over here. Just duplicated, like I said, the other side. Now that I got the 2 quarters done, I'm moving on to the next piece now, which is this trunk lid, okay? As you can see, what's been done here, you can see there's holes in this here and there's rust over here. You can see the way this was pie cut. This is one of the ways they used to do these cars when they shop them. These trunk lids are extremely high on the Fleetlines, and they cut them down and they do a pie cut through here. What I mean by pie cut, before this here was joined, this was like a cut like this, okay? And this here was brought down. I'm going to say there's a good, I'd say 4 inches for sure, taken out of the height of the trunk lid here. It's the same as on my car. Mine up there's done the same way, right? That one there's done the same way. I just did the butt weld on all this here instead of an overlap. I'm going to dress this, I think. I might end up just cutting and doing a butt on this here. I've done that before too. Trying to get a nice finish on it, right? Because the problem I'm going to run into here is down here. I have a lot of damage along here. A lot of rust, a lot of poor metal work, all that type of stuff. But when I get up here, from about here up, it seems to be pretty good, okay? I don't mind this so much. I can rework some of this if I got to, right? But it's extremely low right here. And of course, all along here. And then on top of that, when you look across the back end of it this way, it's got a bump in it here, okay? This should flow from back to this here. I would want this to flow from here to come up the flow right into the trunk lid. It's got to have that look. So first thing I'm going to do here first now is I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to strip everything this off. There's a lot of surface rust on this here, so I'm going to give it a good clean off. I'm just going to take that off with 24 grit because there's a lot of surface rust. And I'll get this cleaned up to see where we get started to. So I got that all stripped off. Most of it anyway is going to have to be sanded again. I just want to get the heaviness off it and get it cleaned up. It's pretty clean there now. 24 grit grinding disc. Some might think that's harsh, but this whole car is rusty, okay? I got to grind it all off to get the rust off it. I haven't grinded none of this off. I'm just going to cut all that right out of it. I'll get into that in a sec. There's been a bunch of welding done on this here I've been looking at. The seams here. I don't know if you can see it here. Someone actually welded up the seams on this side here. Now the problem with this is side here is extremely low. So I had to tweak that up, get this seam here to sit nice. Of course, the gap is here. Some may be asking, people have asked me about these washers, the purpose behind these washers. They're stops, that's all they are. They're temporary stops. Anytime I'm doing panel alignment on cars, okay, and I'm doing major restoration, stuff like that, I always remove the latches. Latches got a tendency to move the trunk lid around. I want the trunk lid relaxed. I want it to let it fall where it wants to fall, Then I'll line it up so it fits nice, and then I'll make the latch fit the alignment of the car. This here will stop the trunk lid from falling in too far, and it'll give me the alignment. Like this is the height here that I'm after, so I gotta make sure everything along there remains that height there along that, and same with down this bottom side here. I had welding done over here. This side's not so bad, but you can see now, like I started to dig into filler. I'm not getting into that right now. I'm just going to take this as far as here and work on the trunk lid here. All this here, I'm going to make fit the trunk lid. To give you some idea what I got to work with here, if you take a straight edge like this here and go to the flow of the car, you can see there, look, I can almost stick my finger in there, and that's high there. I want to get this here to flow from here to here with a nice transition from one to the other, with a nice seam right along there. So I got to work on getting this here out. That's the whole purpose of cutting all this here out. Now most times when I'm building panels, you say leave what's there, use it as a template, and you know, build off of that. Problem I got with this here's all been butchered. It's not even right. It's in my way. It serves no purpose other than just to get in my way. So I'm going to take this along here now. I'm going to leave the welding on here. I'm going to cut off a fresh piece off here. I'm going to cut a fresh piece off here. I'm going to clean all this off along here and get this piece out of the car. So, you can see I cut this piece out here. I got it all cut out now. And you can see it's been a bunch of welding and everything done on it down here. I never cut it off the edge because I know at the end of this is all welded. And now I see some of this here is like this. I'm probably going to end up having to replace the entire inner lip on this as well. As you can see, it's got surface rust on the inside of it. As typical of these old cars, right? Like I was saying before, it's very, very hard to know what's behind the panels. This panel here is kind of hard to see. It's almost like it's submerged in water. But when these cars were built, they never even thought about painting everything behind. They built the outside of them, they painted the outside, and that was it. Everything inside the panels on these early cars was all bare metal like this here. That all went to a surface just like this over years. So you take any car, and this is in Arizona summer that's extremely dry, anywhere there's any moisture in the air, you're going to see a surface rust like this, and that's just nature of the beast. Don't get worried about it, think that it's going to rot out and all that type of stuff. Rust like this here could be there for a lifetime, okay? Anyway, I'm going to go ahead now, cut all the rest of this out, get this all cleaned up and get it ready, see what I got to face. So here's where I'm to. The inner tail section of this here, this lower section has been replaced. You can see where they cut it off before and they overlapped it, they welded it on and welded a piece on it. It wasn't a good fit on the car anyway, so, you know, and they've actually made this entire lower lip section of the car on the back side of this car. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to cut the works of that right out, back up to here. I'm going to cut every bit of that out of that and get clear of it and start from scratch, because there's no good in trying to even try to save any of this because it's pieces welded in it and the way it's overlapped and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll get that chopped out and get clear of that. So that's all chopped out of her. Now I got somewhere to start. I got rid of everything that I didn't want. Quite interesting how they done this car, and it's done a long time. This is the inner lip. All the way around the trunk lid, there's this little 1/8 solid stock round bar going right around the entire lip. And this is how they made the lip of the trunk lid. Going right around the whole perimeter of the trunk lid. I don't know why the trunk lid was cut like it was. That's probably the way they cut it out. But you can see it here on the trunk lid on the inside. You can see the way it's all done here too. All along there is a full piece put in it. Round rod. And then all this has been replaced in along through here. All this is going to have to be sandblasted. It's hard to see there. It's pretty dark. Right? Yeah, it's all up around the back too. Entire lip, every bit of it's made. They made the entire lip of the trunk lid. So they must have shaved the trunk lid clean right off the car, which is unusual. But I won't be getting into that. That there is a decent old job done on that all the same. And it's done a long time ago, I can tell you that. Because the work was done on this car It's been kicking around a while, and from what I can make of it, was left out in the weather for a number of years, and it's after going rusty, because you can see the old welding and everything. And I'm going to say some of the welding on this is 20 years old, and then some. So I got that all cleaned out, and I got this here removed. They weighs a ton, of course, so I'm going to worry about them no more. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean up this lip, get everything straightened away. I'm going to show you something now, get a real nice flow along there. And you can play that there, look. When the trunk lid's closed, you get a real nice flow along there, look. So I'll work all that into it and keep an eye on that, make sure that flows nice. So here's where I'm to. I went ahead and I grinded off all the old slag and everything and straightened up this edge so it looked nice and clean up around the corner there. Same thing. Come across here, made sure there was nothing interfering with it down here, and I just cleaned up this lip here as well. My whole plan is here now is to turn around and build this intersection coming down to here. The one thing I got since I've been cutting the back out of this trunk lid's after getting right light and is moving around on me a bit, I went ahead, took them washers, and I got them welded on. It's actually welded onto the car now, so the trunk lid is permanently closed. I prefer making panels on the car. Some people say take this off, turn it upside down on the bench and make it all up. No, I prefer to make it on the car because I got all this to go by here. I'm going to build it on the car. Eventually I'll take it off and finish it inside and do the grinding and welding on the inside. But the majority of this work is going to be done here. It's going to be done with the trunk lid on the car. That way I can get this nice seam down along here, get it right, get all the fitment and everything. So here's what I'm going to do. This here's got a U shape to it, the whole works with this. That's a big piece of metal to try to make one piece out of. I'm not going to get into this to the point of making it too complicated, okay? I'm going to do this side, and I'm going to do this side. I found this piece of scrap tin here. This is 18 gauge. It's this old shelving that I got. It's got a white coating and everything on it. So this is long enough here now. I'm just going to cut this in half here and start off by making a piece here. My whole goal is I'm not going to worry about the bottom here yet. I'm going to get a piece that comes up and rolls in that got this flow. This is not a straight edge going along here. This is not straight, as you can see, okay? That's not a straight edge going along there. So I got to have an unusual roll on it. Just can't bend a piece of metal on a 90-degree bend and then try to fit it. I'm going to lay this up in place and mark it, trim it back, and then I'm going to roll the edge of it. I want some rolled edge on it. I don't want a 90-degree bend on it. So I'm going to roll the edge so it fits here. Not going to worry about none of this down here yet. So I'm going to have it let it overlap down here on the bottom side of this here, so that I know that I got the proper height going along here, because when I trims it off, it'll just be pushed in a small bit. So I'm going to go ahead now, get this trimmed up and get it marked out. So here's what I got done. I cut the other piece out, this side here, and I trimmed it all up, and I grinded off, cleaned off both sides of it, because I got to get access to both of them. And then what I did is I went over here, and I just fit it, trimmed it, fit it, and trimmed it so it had that same shape as that there, okay? Along there. And all I want to have is so it follows that flow along there. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to turn around and put a rolled edge right along here. Okay, I'm going to probably put like 3/4 of an inch or so rolled edge right along this edge here, just so that it actually rolls over this edge here and I got something to go off of, and I can weld it on in there. Okay, I got my old homemade T-dolly here, just a piece of brown stock. I want to do a bit of flat bar, and I rolled off the edges with grinder. I got that a lot of years. So I've had that device there. I'm just going to take this now, just take my time, roll the edge over. Let's set up here. Here's all I did. You can see I rolled it over on T-dolly, and then I turned around and I took it and I clamped this in the vise, and I put a sharper roll on it, so now I got a nice rolled edge on it. And then I turned around and I hammer formed it around the vise right here to get this concave on it, so I can get a bit of a roll on this here, so it actually flow with the back of the car. And also bent it this way. If you look at that, it's got a bit of a crown on it as well that way. So got a bit of a twist in it, so it'll fit in place. So I got that fitting where I want it to now. All I'm going to do is I'm going to lap weld this up here and weld it in along the inner trunk lid because it's on the inside of the car. And I'm going to turn around. I'm not going to worry about none of this out here, like I said before. I'll trim all that up after. And what I'm going to do here first is get this all set up here, put it in place, and get this one here welded in. So I got that one all welded in and grinded off. Nothing fancy, just a bit of a lap weld up here, and I got it all welded in here, straight weld. Lots of strength there, so I didn't worry about having to warp it or nothing. So I just, run 1-inch beads, and I went back and welded 1-inch beads again. Then I took the stone and grinded it all off. So now I got a nice flow to that. Don't worry too much about anything else right now. This here, I'm going to have to do a cut and fit right here, but I'm leaving the trunk lid like it is for now. And this here also got to be trimmed up. Not worried about it. Don't overthink any of this process. All you're looking to do right now is to get that lower lip mounted on the car. Something that you can use for a lower lip. So I got that done. I'm going to go ahead, same process, get this one all done and get it welded in. And that way we start getting everything fitting up and trimmed up for the lower lip then after that. So I went ahead, cut the piece out, repeated the same process that I done over here, used the T-dolly, shaped it, got it all straightened away, put it in place, welded it in along here, overlapped it. And over here, I did the cut and butt and welded this down through here, just the two pieces, so there's a butt weld down through here. And I had pushed in on it a few times. It's still sticking off some. I'm not too concerned about it right yet. I got everything welded up on this now. Now what I got to do, I got to let go of the trunk lid here. I'm going to have to mark this here now so I can actually trim this section out here. And I want to trim it back so I got lots of room to file it back and everything. So I'm going to cut it so it's almost too long still, okay? I'm going to work my way back to it so I get a nice seam, because what I want to do, I want to rework this area here and get this here, the flow with this here, and be below this here, because the problem with it is all this here has got to be below this, okay? So I got to work all this here now to get that below that there. So what I'm going to do here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a marker now and find out where everything's to. Mark it along here, take a few points, start cutting this off here, just taking my time and trimming it up so I can actually get it to fit into the opening better. So I get the welds let go here and here, and I'll just grind them off, and then I'll mark this here beforehand, put a couple of spots on it, and then I can start trimming it up. As you can see, I got it marked out here now. It's hard to see in the light. I can get the light on better. There you go. I got it marked out. All I did is I got the trunk lid let go and opened up the trunk lid. And as you can see, I have marked the line down along here, very faint. My poor old markers are getting shot. And then I just put lines on them, like you can see, and I measured up from them lines to the edge. And then all I did is I just transferred that over to this here. Marked it, and then marked the line. That'll roughly get me where I got to be along there. So I'll take the zip cut wheel now and cut that off there, and so I'll start from there and I'll start moving it back up bit by bit so I get it to where it's close and it's just going to clear. I'm not going to worry about having a perfect fit right yet. I just want to get it to clear because I want to adjust all this now so that it's all sitting below this panel here. Okay, so I'll get that cut off now. So I got it trimmed off, and you're looking through there and it's pretty close. All I'm going to do now is take the grinder and just start grinding it across there, working my way across, just getting it so it just clears that opening that's there. You can see the clear, it's pretty close there, right? I just want it to clear there because now I want to work on getting all this here flush, right? So I'll take the grinder now and start grinding that off. So I got this file down, so it just clears the opening there now all the way around. Okay, it's going to have to be cut back more later on for the actual, get the nice gap and everything on it. But I got to work some issues here now. Right here, this sticks off a good bit, okay, along here. So I'm going to cut this down through here and push in because there is a strain on this here. So I'll push in on here. Over here, I want to do the cotton butt in along here and get that there to fit nice and flush in along there. And then I'm going to start working my way around it and getting all this here. I would like to get it so it's about like this here, okay? So there's a bit of an overlap, or this here is a bit higher than this here. That way that I got room to work with it. And I got to make sure this point up here is lower than this. And I'll do that with the stick when I go to put on it. I just got to try to work my way around here now and get this all straightened away. Bit of cotton butt there, a little cotton split, push that in there, dolly it up a bit. And I'll get all that done and we'll see where we're to then. So here's where I'm to. I went ahead, I done a simple little cotton butt across here and welded it across, grinded it all flush. It's still pretty thick out on this end, okay? Then I just cleared it all the way around. You can see, I can see a little bit of a lip here all the way along there. Here in the middle, I had to cut this again and I had to rework this whole section here in the middle again because this was extremely high. And I had to push in on it again, close up the gap here in order to get this here to move in. And then I re-welded it on the inside as well. And then I grinded it all flush. You can see the little bit of a gap I got here, okay? Coming along here, same thing again. Up here, did the cotton butt and just turn around and cleaned all that up there. So now that I got that there all straightened away, I'm happy with that. That's where that's going to be. I'm going to go back now and I'm going to take a full 1/4 inch off the whole works of it because that'll help me with my lip, my opening, because I'll work it from there because I need a gap probably 1/4 inch wide or so coming down through here. So I'm going to take this just a little bit wider than 1/4 inch because I need the spot for the metal folding over. And I'm going to trim this right off all along here now. So I get that there so I can see a nice seam along there. I went ahead and took a piece of 3/4 inch tape, went around and marked my distance all the way from the edge. Then I took a black marker and I turn around and I mark it right along where the edge of the tape is to now. So now I got a nice edge, a line that I can cut off all the way along there. So I'll go ahead now, move that, and I'll cut all the marker off. And then I'll have a nice gap there so I can actually start installing the panel to it. So I got it all trimmed off and I sat down, I dollied a few things here and dollied a few things here so I get a nice seam and everything on it. Haven't grinded nothing else. I twisted the trunk lid a small bit, just playing around with it, trying to get a finish on everything so I'll be happy with it. But you can see now, we got a seam across the back there, okay? And it flows nice to the back here. Got a nice flow to it there. So I went ahead then, I turned around and I cleaned it up in here. This here is going to have to be welded later on because there's a seam there now. I'll weld that across here and dress that later on. But you can see now, you got a nice rolled edge going in along here, going all the way along, okay, for a nice lip. And I'll weld all that later. There's a seam up along here. And I got a nice lip now to actually mount everything to. So now that I got that all done, I'm happy where everything is to. Next thing I do now is figure out the panel on the back of this. Now, a lot of you are going to say, let's make it all one piece, okay? Yeah, okay, you can make this one piece. You got a lot going on here. This here curves this way, and it curves this way. These outside pieces curve this way, okay? It's a bit tricky, okay? So what I'm going to do is, I'm looking at this here. I'm going to make it in 3 sections. I'm going to make the middle first. I'm really concerned about this flow here, at the contour of the car here. If I tries to make this here with this also, I'm going to have fool all this up. Once I get this section here made, installed, I can turn around and I can make these outer panels to fit. It'll be a lot easier. You can make this in all one piece. It's going to be a lot of hours and a lot of frustration. I like breaking the stuff like this down into simple projects. So I got a curvature this way that got to be looked after with a lip on it. Then I got a curvature this way that flows this way with a lip on the bottom side of it. And I also got another one over here that flows this way with a lip on the outside of it as well. So, you know, it's a lot easier to turn around and build the middle first. Then I just build my two outside pieces, okay? So I'm just going to go get a random piece now. That's going to be so long. I'm going to come up to here, come down, and I'm going to get it, and I'm going to turn around and get ready to fit that in place and see what it looks like. So here's what I come up with. I took up measurements. I got 7 inches, which is more than high enough, and I got 25 inches, which is from here to here, which is I only really wanted 24, but I give it an extra inch. I found these panels here. I have a lot of this old stuff kicking around. These are old locker door sections for cabinets or whatever it is, and it's 18 gauge metal and it has a coating on it. I'm going to leave the coating on it for now. I'm cutting out the middle because I like to save these lipped edges. I like finding saving them. Might have a use for them sometimes. So, and I don't want to go. Only needs this much of it, and I would have took it down here further, but I said, "Oh, Shaggy, I'll just take it right out the middle, and I'll have 2 smaller sections left over." And so I'm going to go ahead now, cut this out, and get it cleaned up. And I'm going to leave the coating on it for now because I want to run this through the English wheel because it's the next thing we got to do. I got to put a crown on this. So I'm just going to clean up my outer edges where I grind it off and then go over to the English wheel with it. So I'm here now. I got medium-sized wheel on it, nothing too big of a crown or anything on it. I got to tighten down a bit. I'm just going to run this through it a few times now to get it started and get a crown on this. I leave the coating on it because it's a lot easier to work the English wheel with it. When I grinds it off, it's leaves too many marks. So, after all my wheeling and everything, this is what I come up with. Kind of hard to see it there. If I got around there in the way of straight edge. You can see it there. See there's a crown on that. Okay. And of course, you can see there's a crown on it that way. And I went and crowned these corners off a bit more on both sides here because that's what rolls off in the trunk lid. And I had a quick test fit, but I wanted to show you it here on the bench first. So, let's see what it looks like on the car. So there it is, fit in place. I just got 2 clamps put on it. I'm going to drill them and put clecos there. Right here, she's a bit high here, but this panel is low. This had an emblem on the back side of it, was all welded up, and there's a low spot right here on the panel. So I want to put this crown in this section here. So that's the way I want it to look, is from there, right? But it lays flat against the side of this down here, nice, okay? All that fits nice. When you look down across it this way here, you can see there's a nice constant flow going front to the top, to the bottom. So I'm happy with that there now. I'm going to put a couple of clecos in that there now. And so that's permanently mounted where I want it to go before I do anything else, so I can keep returning it back to the original place. So I got the clecos in place. All you do with them is you drill a 1/8 hole and you put the cleco in place. And here's the tool for them and how they work. That's the tool itself. Okay, there's the cleco, and you just push on it here, and it opens it up for a 1/8, and then when it closes up, it opens up the gap on it, so that it holds itself in place. You get them on Amazon, anywhere. Clecos is what they're called. That's them there. They're called clecos. C-L-C-E-C-O. That's how you spell it. So if you look on Amazon and in places like that, you'll find them. Usually comes in a pack of 15 or 20 or something like that, or 10 sometimes. It comes with that, and it comes with a little wrench, little handle for putting them on. But they're great. All you got to do is drill like a 1/8 hole through your panels. You can easily weld it up later on, and you can actually put panels on a car. If you got to do a lot of modifications, you can put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off. For years, I used screws, but The screws got a tendency to wear the more you use them. The hole gets bigger. These are great for that, right? So I got it all clamped in place. Clegos, and I clamped the corners down here. Then I come in on the bottom side here, and I took the scribe, and I scribed along this edge here, so I can scribe it, and now I got a nice edge that I can use for the roll, so I'm going to put my lip on. So here's what I got done. You can see the scribe mark there. If you hold a straight edge on it, you would notice that it's not straight, okay? It's got a curvature going this way. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to come down about 3/8 of an inch, probably 1/2 inch or so, 3/8, 1/2 inch, somewhere in there. And I'm going to mark it parallel to that line. I'm going to cut that section there off and have it so that I got a nice lip then I can roll up. So I got that cut off and it's parallel. You can see how much line I got left there. I left that there on that side and I went and cleaned up my edges. I went and stripped this side here because it's got to be stripped off anyway. And I don't want to go fooling around with it after. Once it gets this lip rolled over, I don't want to be, it's going to be harder to clean up. I'm leaving this alone in here for like a rust protection. It's good gear, so I'll leave it there. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to bend this over so far with a pair of pliers. No fancy tools, just an old set of linesman pliers. And you can use vice grips or whatever you got handy. And just going to slowly start bending this over, because you can't really put it in a brake or anything because it's got a curvature on it like this here, so you got to bend it over. Once it gets it so far, then I can start dollying it, right? So get bent up so far with the pliers first. So you see me there, bend it over with the pliers. I made a couple of passes, bend it over, taking my time, a little bit at a time, bend it over. Then I turn around, I took the dolly, my old dolly, and I turn around and used the squared edge on it, and used it like so, like this here, so I can actually tap it into that there, so I can make it right angle on it, because that's the way that's set up like that. And I bent it over on the edge like that. Then I just continued on rolling it over. I went and clamped this piece of steel in between it, so it actually slid underneath it. So if you look at it, there's an actual gap there now, see? That gap will fit over the metal that's on the car there now, and it'll fit in place. I prefer doing it that way there now. I can do all the rolling of the edge and everything on the car now, and all I gotta do is just tighten it up then later on when it gets it on the car. That way everything is done. But when you flip it over, you got a nice edge on it, all the way along there now. That'll just gotta be dressed off a small bit, some small marks and everything in it, but that's fine. So let's go over and test fit this now, see what it's all about. So here's the first test fit. Okay, it'll fit on there pretty good. All lapped in around on the edge and everything. Fitting over that. But you can see there's a bit of a gap there, like where this is to there now. And when you tap it along there, the rolled edge is that tight that it needs to move up, okay? You can see now how much is there. That's how much is there. Now when I tap this up here, it doesn't want to go any farther because of the roll on this here, the distance between all this here, which is no big deal. So what I need to do here now is when I close this up, you can see the gap is really tight, okay? What I need to do is I need to trim this off here so I can move this up a bit. So I'm going to take about 1/8 of an inch or so off of this, work my way up. I'm just going to take it off from here over. Not going to worry about this section right now. I'm just going to concentrate on getting this piece fitted. So I'm going to mark this here on both sides, and then I'm going to trim off a section of it all the way along there. Once I get trimmed off, I'll test fit that on again, so I'm happy with the seam that I'm after, and then I can turn around and start working on doing the cutting butt to set this up here. But I got to clean this up and paint this in here first. But first things first, let's get this fitting. There's all I did, is I cut about 1/8 of an inch off it, and then I dressed and grind the edge of it, and I beveled it off a small bit, so there's a bit of edge on it. It's not a sharp edge running on it. Moved all the slag on the bottom side of it. So now I'm going to take that there now and test fit the panel again. That's a much better gap. Going along there. I'm finding there's a little tiny bit tight along here, but I think it's this panel here. It seems like it comes over and comes up a small bit and then goes down. I can fix that later. I'll just turn around and rework that area there. It's no big issue, but I got a nice gap along the back there. And going across to there. It's a nice gap. Right? Going through there. So I'm happy with that. And even when you look at it this way, you see the way it flows up across it and everything. It's got a nice flow to the panel. So what I got to do now is this here is ready now to install, but I want to clean this up a bit and do something with it, because once I get all this welded in, you're not going to be able to get at the back side of this. Now I know a lot of this up here in the back side here is all the same as this. There's not much I can do with it, but a lot of moisture and everything builds up down the bottom side here. So I want to get this cleaned up in here, all this stuff here, and I like to get some paint and everything in here, and be pretty generous with the amount of paint that puts on it. So there's lots of material in there, right? A lot of times, like, you're going to come across this in old cars. Don't get worked up over it, you know, in terms of, like, it's going to rust out. Not so much rust out. This is not the stuff that rusts out. This stuff can sit around for 50 years and not do nothing and just stay like this here, okay? It's the rust, usually where moisture builds up, bombs, fenders, rockers, doors, all that type of stuff. Where they're known, the car is known to rot out, but like the inner structure of this car here, for some reason, was probably left out, and the skin was left off it, and a lot of it got rusty. It'd probably be the best thing to cut the whole works off it and replace it and put another one on it. That's not what we're going at with this car. We got this car here now, and we're going to fix up what we got. The customer wants to make a cool little ride out of it, and you know, he knows he's not going to be getting into whole new trunk lids and stuff like that for this one. But don't be too concerned about this stuff. A lot of people are really hung up on rust. It's there, it's everywhere, okay? You're going to come across it. It's different types of rust that you got to be concerned with. This stuff here is fine, okay? We'll clean this up, a couple of coats of paint on that. It'll outlive me. So I'll get this all cleaned up now and get ready so I can install that piece. So I went ahead, cleaned it all up, and then I put lots of paint in there. Painted it and put coats of paint, everything on it. All this is just a rust paint, okay? Just any old generic rust paint, something that covers good. Don't care if it's gloss black, flat black, yellow, orange, blue, whatever. As long as it's paint. I like to find stuff that covers good. Got lots of coverage, that when you put it on, it's half thick. And, you know, this here will save this here. It will be fine. I got the metal down here painted, and then I also painted the lipped edge up here where I'm overlapping. Along here, I painted that as well. So when I put some metal on it, there won't be bare metal there. I'll put some new skin on, right? So now I can fit the skin on and start welding that skin in place. So let's get started on that. So I got that panel in place. I'm happy with it too. One thing I want to note, if you can look in there, I don't know if it's hard to see or not, but since I trimmed everything off and moved everything up, the hole now is off. So I'm after moving the panel up. So them holes are no good to me no more. I never realized that when I put that on, that I was probably going to end up having to move this anyway to get the nice gap down here. So now that I got the gap down here and everything's good, I'm just going to go ahead now and put a few tacks across here now, and then just do the cut and butt straight across there. So you saw me there doing the cut and butt across there, and I done the cut and butt. And what I end up doing then is when I come back again, I noticed this panel is still too high. So I end up cutting through it and recutting it again just to get the heights right. I didn't want to go getting too much into the weld because I want to get that piece out from behind it first. And you can see me like I welded every 4 inches, got the piece out, then I come back and then I started to cut and fit and redress it again, so I was happy with it. Then I went back and I welded every inch on it after that, right? So that's all ready to go there now. All I gotta do is take my time now, weld every inch, skip an inch, weld an inch, skip an inch. You know, spot weld, spot weld, spot weld, not an inch itself. Like, don't go weld an inch on here, on these panels here, you're gonna warp it all up. So I'll just do a spot weld here. Much the same what I'm doing here now. I'll just continue on until they all joins together with spot welds. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all that welded up there now. And we can get this panel finished, this section here finished. There you have it. I just went ahead and welded up all the spot welds, cooled it off with air, went back, welded them up again, kept it up, till I got it all done. Then I grinded it all off, went back, done a few touch-ups on it, grinded it off again, and that's what you're left with. I prefer to do it this way, finishing off section at a time, working my way around from it. Instead of trying to build this in all one panel, it can be a nightmare. I got a nice body line there now, nice seam across the back of it. When you look out across the back of this now, you can look across there. You can see there's a nice flow to the back of the car. Right? So that flows nice down through there now. Right on down through the panel. So I'm very pleased with that. So now we got to move on and start cutting pieces out for two of these and making these up. Now you can sit down and start making patterns of all this, but over the years I just done the same thing over and over again. I just find it easier for me. If you want to make a pattern or something like this, you probably can. But I like starting with larger pieces and just slowly start fitting it in there. I don't have much wastage, and you know, I'm always using little scrap pieces. You've seen me use that. So this is what I start out with. Another piece of that locker door, 18 gauge. All I'm doing, I took the biggest measurements that I had and added a 1/2 inch or so to it. And I got two pieces here now, one for one side, one the other. I like cutting square pieces out, start with that. There's going to be a lot of it cut off. But I just like starting with that there because I'm going to manhandle a piece and I'll just lay it in place and I'll start cutting one piece at a time, one section at a time, cutting it out. Like if I can sit down and make a template and do all that and then cut it all out, man, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But this is how I do it. So I'm going to go ahead now, cut out the two squares. I'll have one for that side, one for that side. Okay, so I got the two pieces cut out. I went ahead then, took this one here and I just roughed it in. I cut it on the angles so that I'll have a rough idea of where this had to go. This went like so, like this. So I'm going to, I got it fit like that now, and then I grind it off top side of it, cleaned it off. I'm going to leave this on it for a protective coating. And I'm going to start shaping this now to this here. Now I have no idea what I'm up against here right now. I'm just going to take my time and start fitting it in. When I get somewhere with it, I'll show you what I did and how I figured it out. But there's like no game plan here. I don't say this got to be done, that got to be done, because this curves this way, and then it rolls around this way, and then it rolls this way, and it rolls down here. So I got a bit of work ahead of me. So I went playing with this last night. It's the next day now. I had to get away from it. This here has to go up and roll this way, and then it has to turn, and then it has to roll this way at the same time. As you can see, I pounded on this here, shrank it, pounded on it, English wheel it, did a whole bunch of stuff with it. And, you know, if I want to spend a lot more time on it, I probably could have got it. But it's like, the problem I got is that I got to have a curvature in this here, like so. And this here has to be curved like so. It's only a slight curve, but I got to be curved this way. And then this got to go flat and curved this way here. And the only way I'm going to be able to do this sensibly with the tools that I got is to cut it in half. Cut it through the section. I'm going to make a new one of these because I do have this here pretty well beat up. Right when I was beating around at it and stuff like that, I was ran through the English wheel and everything. But the problem you got is that this panel comes up here, okay? It comes up and it rolls over the edge. But when it rolls over the edge here, then it has to rotate up this way, okay? So like along from about right here to right here, this just rolls this way, okay? And then it just slowly rolls up this way and it fades out on this corner here, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut out a new piece and I'm going to put this here. I'm going to fill that section in first. So all I'm left with is this bottom section down here, okay? And I can make that piece after. So I'm going to make this piece here as well as this one here. Same type of thing, same deal. I'll make the two of them up so that both of them got the same shape and everything to them. And that way, all I got to do is worry about the roll off the top edge here. It's tricky, okay? I played around with it, like that's why I'm saying. A lot of times I go at this stuff, I go at it blind. It's not like you can actually sit down and say, yeah, okay, that's perfect. I know exactly what to do there. I knew this was going to be trouble, so I can only imagine if I had to build it with this piece here. If I had to make all this in one section, it would have been a lot of work. The little roll section here that rolls off the edge here, it is tricky, okay? So I'm going to go ahead now and cut out the new piece of steel here, start shaping it to put up here, and just concentrate on this section here and get that done, and then I can work on this section here then after the fact. So here's where I'm to. Been sizing everything up, get more in depth in it. I start sizing up this spot here and this spot here, and they were not the same, okay? And when I took measurements, I found one hole was shaped different than the other hole. The key to making both of this look symmetrical is that I got to start off making the hole symmetrical. So then I got the same distance for everything going. So I took a bunch of measurements off of this side here, transferred them over to this side here, and any longer measurements over here, I transferred them over on this one here, so that both of them, I cut, they're the same height here, same distance here, same distance here, same distance from here to here, same thing over here, same distance here, same distance here, and so on, right? To get all that. So now that I got two of them done, I went and cut out a piece. I went and marked it off and just cut out. I got another triangle there ready to go. And then I just slowly just shaped it. You can see the way this is shaped. Look. This has a roll around the top edge, and then it has to roll this way here, and then it has a roll off the edge. So this here, all I did is I went in underneath this here and I laid this in place. Like so, and I marked it. Okay? That's all I did. Now, I'm debating on whether I should butt this now or not, but I think I'm going to cut it off short here first, just to give it a little bit longer, and lay it over the top of it and see if I can do the cut and butt on that there. I prefer to do it that way because I know if I try to butt weld this here with the shapes, a lot of it's not going to fit properly. At least I have these panels here to get my shapes from by doing the overlap, right? So this is my whole plan here is now I'm going to put this in place. I'm not going to worry about this edge yet, okay? When I make the bottom piece, I'll do the transfer from one to the other there. It's just that I need to get a straight line going across here that I can mount to, and then I'll work this edge here, and I'll work the edge on a new panel so both of these here flow together. So I'm going to go ahead now, come up here, probably 1/4 inch past this here, trim this off here, trim this off here, and then see what it fits like. So here's where I'm to. I got the piece made up, and I hammered and dollied it, and I hammered and dollied it, and I got it to the shape. And you can see the shape this is in. Look, that curves that way. It curves that way. And this over here has to be pretty well straight. I'll have to work that now after I get it all welded in. One of the things I had to do, there's a lap weld on this here, on this car. There's a lot of it on this car. I was debating on what I was going to do with it. I think a lot of it's good. It's good job done on it. Like it's a nice transition from one to the other. It's not what I prefer. But the problem I got is that a lot of these lap welds, if you try to do the cut and butt on them now, the piece of metal is welded on the inside, and you're left with the piece left inside there, and it's very, very hard to get it out. I went and reworked the end of it. I cut the end piece off. I had a hard time getting 2 inches off. I figured I'd experiment here and see, because I would like to have this section here flush mounted anyway, because I didn't want to have the step. I didn't want to have the step up over that there with the catch that I was putting in it. See? So I went and done this much of it here just for experimental reasons and to see what it was like, and I had a hard time getting the piece out of it. I cut to the lower side of it, and it still was welded on the inside. I had to turn around and split it up on the inside here, as you can see. Had to cut it there, and then turn around, and I had to break it all off in order to get it off. Yes, there's a bit of rust in there. That'll all have to be sandblasted later. I don't know why it's so rusty on the inside of that panel. It had to be left out in the weather. It just had to be. And the way it is, the top side wasn't bad. The bottom side's really bad. I don't know. But anyway, Right here, I done this section here, and I just want to do it. I'll do the same on the other side here, the transition, and then it just fades out, and it goes back to the lap weld here. These are not bad. I've done this way for a lot of years. When you're on a roll panel like this, it's fine to overlap and stuff like that. And whoever done it did a nice job. It's nice and straight. It's pretty good, right? So, and you know, so I'm going to turn around now. I got this piece ready to go. I'm going to tack weld that in there now and do the cutting butt all around the top edge of that there so it fits nice, and get that piece welded in. And there you have it. Got a nice flow up through there now, coming down around, flowing this way. And when you look at it up through here, it's got a nice taper going up across here now. I can put this piece on, I can work the metal to fit that there, and I can make that piece there. So, since I had that one there to do, I went ahead then, and I done the other side as well. So I got this side done as well. This one was done. So, anytime I come across situations like this where I have two items, and they're pretty well close to each other, I try to make, you know, one look like the other. It's kind of hard to do it. But when I'm working on them, I like to do it in steps like this here. Complete that one there, and then come over here and complete this one here. So that way you got to fresh in your mind what you're doing, what you already did over here. So now I'll do the same thing here and here, right? So that way, when it's all said and done, it's very hard. Like if I had to go complete this side here and then come over here and try to repeat this side here, trying to remember what I do up here, because I've already done the bottom down here, which threw me off over here. But in saying all that, it's always better to duplicate anything like this. I've after doing a number of videos where I made two things at once, right? Anyway, I got two of them done. That's all straightened away. So I'm going to go back over here now and start fitting the piece over here, marking it out, folding the lip over, get all that there straightened away so I can get that piece finished. So I got it clamped in place here, the piece that I had. Now, not worried about this up here right yet, because here got to be shaped, but I'm not going to be concerned about that as of yet. I'll worry about that later. Right now, I clamp it, I made sure it was over far enough, it's up far enough, and then I went and scribed it down here like I did the rest of it. I scribed all this in here. I'll take it off now, mark it, and I'll trim it up. So I got it all trimmed out, and you can see the distance that I got there to fold up around it. Now, do this one a bit different. Up here on this end here, I'm not going to fold that, okay? It's very hard to roll this edge, to fold this edge in over itself, because it's got to all bunch up, and it becomes extremely hard. You end up getting these little tucks coming sticking out on the corners where it rolls down around. I'm going to worry about that later. All I'm going to worry about for now is getting this bottom side all rolled over and fold it and get that in place, and then I'll show you what I does with that after. So here's where I'm to. I rolled the edge on it, and I rolled it over, same process I did over here, and I just turn around and roll the edge. As you can see, I left this side alone. Reason being that when you fit these on, when you start getting these roll edges, when you rolls it over, it really starts to get tight. And you ends up getting, like I'm having troubles now right here, just on that little bit of a roll there. And I've been playing with it, trying to get it so it's a lot better. Down here is too low, over here is too high, okay? So I got to play around with this. I'm not too concerned about it because I'm going to weld this lip up here and grind it and finish it. And that's the way I'm going to do that one. I'll do it in two pieces. I've done that before in other videos. I got it all fit and I'm quite happy with it. It's not half bad there now, right? Like I was saying, it's a bit tight here and it's a bit wide here. So I'll dress that after I get the panel put into it. Now I just got to put a curvature in it and start working on getting this up here fitting properly. And all I'm going to do is just going to take this here now, bend it over and roll it. It only rolls back to about here and this just fades out. Like this starts over here and it rolls and just fades out this way here over to this section here for this to roll off. This is always the problem because I had this piece here and this piece here. Right in here, this had to be shrank in order for this to work. And the only way I can do this properly is do it like this here. This here has been shrank and this here has been shrank. It'll overlap itself. So that way I can trim it to fit after the fact, right? And that was how I figured out how I was going to do this panel. Because I had to get this to turn this way and this to turn this way. And in here had to be shrank. And it's very hard to shrink the center of a panel to the point that I can get all this to flow right. So I'm only doing this with basic tools, remember, okay? There's probably specialty tools out there to make this, form it, and boof, brand new. This is how I'm doing it. Basic tools, gonna make it up. I'm gonna go ahead now and shape this up a bit more, and all I'm gonna do is just bend this over, roll it over a small bit, and get it to fit. So after having this test fitting this a few times now, getting everything straightened away, I went and marked it over here, trimmed back this corner here and the lower lip down here so I can actually come up here and do a butt weld right here, and then it'll be an overlap. I'll cut and butt up here. I did the same thing up here. I got it so there's an overlap up here, and I did the cut and butt up along here, or just going to cut the fit up here, sorry, and then I'll do a cut and butt along here. So then I turn around and I played around, fitting the panel, and this is the shape it's in, look. Type of shape is on that. Now you can usually manipulate metal a little tiny bit. This section right here was the trouble. It was right there where that rolled in over that top edge, right? I'm going to put this in place there now and show you what it looks like. So here it is here, you can see. It's up pretty good up along here. Stuck up a small bit there, nothing serious. And then up along here, it's flush mounted here now. And up along here, you can see the way it just flows up along there. It's hard to see it, but that there actually drops down there, right? And you look up and across this way, right? You can probably see the roll and see the way that rolls up along there. So that's the way these panels go, is rolls up around here. So I got that in place there now. All I'm going to do is I'm going to weld these two corners here, and here, get them tacked in place. And then I'm going to turn around and do the cut butt along here. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I've been doing a lot of cut butting on this one now, so I'm just going to go ahead, get this one here all in place, cut in, and fit it, and then we'll work on this outer lip. Well, look at that. That's all done. Okay. Got a nice flow going up across it there now, and around the back, up around the back here. Got the nice lip all the way along the bottom. It's all been butt welded in through here and all welded up. There's nothing worse when you come over and you get a thick spot on your edges, right? So I got that all sorted out and going up across here. Now, is it perfect? No, it could be a small bit low there, and it's a bit low here. But for body work, it'd be perfect. It's not pristine, but it's still got the flow going across it that it needs to have. Now, right here, I'm just going to cut that off there now, trim it back so I can get it to a point where I think it's going to be, and then I'll start shaping this corner here to actually fit the seam. And then all I'm going to do then is I'll make up an inside piece that I'll weld onto it, and I'll weld this entire edge here. So all I did is I took the grinder and I cut off a section of it, and I took my air grinder and I rounded out the edge. So now that I get a nice seam and everything going down through there, and you can see like down here I don't like this, so I left it a bit long here. So that way I can turn around. I'm just going to weld this up here. And then when you open this up here, you see I got a lip here. The lip comes across here and then ends and is up here. So now I got to make a piece to go in here that I can actually sandwich in there. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to weld this right along this edge here, and then grind and shape this edge so it looks better. It's a lot easier to do it this way than it's trying to fold in over, and it looks tidy then when you just got that nice little lip going all the way around it, right? So I'm going to go ahead now. Got a little piece here. It's already got a shape in it. I think I should get away with that because that'll actually go somehow like that on the back side of it. So I'll trim this up here now, fit that in there, and get that welded in. So here's what I got done. I got the piece all shaped up and everything. That's just going to go fit in there. I'm going to tack it in place there now. So that it's tack welded here, and then I'll shape it. I'll cut whatever's off it. You can see I got a line along on that there. Get a bit of light on that. There you go. See the line? And that'll actually, that'll fit in underneath that there, and I'll have a nice little edge there, and then I'll just go ahead and I'll weld all that up. Now, don't that look lovely? Look. Leave that there, wings on her. But you can see now I got the lip done up here, and I got a tack welded in two spots. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to turn around. I'm going to trim this off here, and I'm going to weld this entire lip right along here, and then grind it all down, make a nice smooth rolled edge on it. And that way I got a lip on the inside, one on the outside, and it'll look like an original style lip, and I can actually get a nice shape to it. So I'll go ahead and I'll get that done. So it's trimmed off, and you can see here now, you got the 3 layers in here. All I'm going to do is just weld all this together here now, and then I can grind that off, and it'll be brand new. I wanted to point one thing out. When I do these corners like this here, I treat the same as I do a lot of metal work. Okay, I grind the top flat, grind the bottom flat, I grind the side flat this way here. I want to grind it so I got my shape right. If it's not right, I'll re-weld it again. Any low spots, I weld it again. If you look at that, it's extremely sharp there now, all the way down through there. It's very crisp, okay? That's the way I got that all done around through there. When I close it, I'm happy with the gap, okay? I do it that way so I can actually get a nice lip. Now that I got this here, where I'm happy with my gap, and this here is nice and flush here, I'll round this off and dress it all up. It's very hard to try to do these and just keep rounding as you're going, because it never seems right. Keep your edges, you're grinding flat this way, and flat this way. And when you got a sharp edge along there, when you're happy with all the fitment and everything, then roll your edges. There it is with the little corners rounded off. You look at that now, and it looks factory, huh? Way that flows up along there, and you can look up underneath the bottom side of it, and it just continues on and around it. That can be trimmed up a bit there. Do that after when it hauls it off. But yeah, got a nice seam down through there. All that looks good. Now that I got that side done, I went ahead and I done the other side. Exact same process as that one. Just flipped it over, done everything the same way, no new tricks there, right? Done the same thing there. All the way up around there. Nice lip. Nice piecing along there. Going along. So I found this side here a lot easier because I knew what I was doing, because I already did that side. So I knew what was involved in it, how to make the piece and all that type of stuff. So I'm going to say this piece here, dressed and all, took me an hour, I'd say, to shape it, install it, grind it, and then to finish it. Took me about an hour and a half, I'd say. But there you go. I got a lot of stuff done on this one. That was a big undertaking getting all the back of this done. So, you know, sometimes these complicated panels, you may have to make them in multiple pieces. Like you look at this tail section here now, it's made out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections to make that tail section again. And of course, then there's the 2 intersections that I had to make, but it's all good. All flows right nice to the back of the car now. Right? And her body seams are all right nice right along there. Looks good. I got to do some tidying up on some of the seams on this here, just tweak them a small bit. But I got a lot of time put into this now, and this video is extremely long, so I'm going to cut her here now, and I hope the tips were good. Until next time. I want to thank you guys for watching. Don't forget, hit like and share. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, hit subscribe down the bottom of the page. If you want to donate to the channel, down below there's a button, Super Thanks button. If you want to click on that, it'll take you through the motions of making donations to the channel. We greatly appreciate it. We also got merchandise. Pop over to FitzyFabrications.com and check out our merchandise. We have hoodies, sweaters, t-shirts, and stickers. Lots to choose from. Thanks for watching.